Hi, and welcome back. I'm Sheldon McLeod. This is Thinking Out Loud, presented to you by SaltWire, and it has been an unprecedented past few weeks. A lot of people have been drawn to or perhaps impacted by what's been happening with the wildfire situation, and the latest at saltwire.com is where you'll find an update. This was just for a few hours ago, but there's still work being done. The rain has been welcome for sure. It is helping with the efforts, and as we move towards perhaps reclassifying this from out of control, get that Highway 103 section reopened, there will be at some point a chance to, reevaluate and reassess what's been happening. And from a first responder perspective, I wanted to talk a little bit about that with someone who has a great deal of expertise in that. I don't know if you've heard of the Tema Foundation. I've spoken about it before, and perhaps this is something new to you, but they've just announced they've announced the Nova Scotia Wildfire Response, Helping Our Heroes, a fund, and it is to support the mental health of those who are working on the front lines of Nova Scotia wildfires. And to perhaps dig in a little more into the details, they have sent out a news release clearly identifying what it is that they'll be looking to do and how they'll get there. And I wanted to talk to someone about this. And Colleen Kamps is a registered psychotherapist with Tema, and she joins us today from Toronto. And I understand, Colleen, you were just recently here in Nova Scotia?
I was, Sheldon. It started last week where we were out there supporting peer support teams that are being built by the Nova Scotia government, and just 60 families arrived at the hotel that I had checked into, and what an impact just to watch all these families come with the clothes on their backs, their children, their pets in hand, and it really impacted us. And so it was at the Hampton Inn in Dartmouth, and so we kicked off a pizza party the next night brought 50 pizzas in, and the hotel let us set up in their area. We asked for the displaced families to come. We had over 100 that showed up, and that was a little bit, but then it was from there that we thought we got to do something else. And a mayor approached us on Thursday and said, we've got some money, we want to work together, and that's what started it. So we're thrilled to be able to do a little piece of something for our first responders and those working the front lines of these two horrible situations.
Close to 20,000 people in total were displaced from their homes at one point or another through the last few weeks. And I've noticed this in years past and commented on it, that when comfort centers are put up and there's an opportunity for people to gather, many folks find support from family, friends, relatives. And clearly we didn't see 20,000 people showing up at hotels or comfort stations. But what's perhaps I think needed is to talk about the supports. It's one thing to say, yeah, come on in, but to help provide the emotional support, the mental health supports, that's a different thing altogether. And asking for a bed is one thing, asking for guidance and support is a totally different thing. Tell me how Tema helps.
So we have part of this initiative that we've set up with Amera is, one part is with our frontline workers and first responders. We're offering them some gift cards we know that many of these men and women were fighting these fires and their own homes had been burnt or had been compromised. But they continue to, selflessly continue to support the community. We also have offered some short-term mental health counseling. We've been able to get a hold of some counselors in the area and also other places, just because it'd be virtually and supporting whether it be the frontline workers or their families as well. And so far over the weekend, we just launched this on Friday. And so we were pretty busy this weekend getting some gift cards out to people. And hearing these stories, I've kind of been the triage person, and so hearing these stories has been quite powerful. And we were also able to offer, we had 7 outreach for counseling, and it was really, we've had a couple of kids, 3-year-old who's having nightmares. We've got another little one 11-year-old who's hearing the sirens on a regular basis, and it's just that anticipatory fear around what's happening and am I going to be safe and is my family safe? And then certainly we've heard from some of the women of these spouses of these first responders and frontline workers. So we're just thrilled that we can provide something. And, I think just a small little conversation, even for an hour, has been tremendous for these people. They have talked about the need for that. I have constantly, with all the first responders that have reached out, and that's another whole story because they don't tend to ask for help. We know that, and we've discovered it even more now. I've been really happy when they have reached out. And although I've been giving them gift cards, I keep saying to them, you know what? Don't forget about your mental health. And don't forget, we can offer just an opportunity to talk. And I think just the appreciation of us seeing them and noticing them has been a huge support and kind of fills them up to continue to go out and do what they have to do. Tema, when this all settles, we're going to be providing some mental health training in each of these communities for our frontline workers, their loved ones, and other people who were working the front lines.
Yeah, building resiliency is something that the fire service and other first on scene agencies are looking at, because there's that recognition. It's not like it once was, and that if we're going to do this long term, we need to take care of ourselves, and that's not just physical but mental health wise as well. And when you have someone who's volunteering, who might not have had training, who might not have gone through any formal process, what opportunities exist to help them get the supports that they need by stepping?
That's a great question. And I know historically, first responder, we know, is police, fire, paramedics. And Tema's really expanded that definition now. And, I think COVID taught us a lot around, we forget other people. And so in cases like this, we have historically forgotten about our journalists, our cameramen, and women. We have forgotten about our tow truck drivers. And in this case, we know that there's been people in the Shelburne area that have been reaching out that are, maybe that I've heard a lot about different things around fishery and fishermen kind of stepping forward and offering some support. We want those people to reach out to us. Because it's anyone who's been on the front lines that we need to be able to just acknowledge. And, we can have, if they want an opportunity to debrief what they've seen, what's gone on, how powerful that was, because a lot of those people have never been exposed to things like that, let alone a lot of us, but, wherever we can. And I know that as time goes on, we're hearing more and more about organizations that are popping up and offering different supports. And this is fabulous because it's not a one-off. It's just not one person that can do this. We all have to work together to be able to support what's happening, and long after this has settled, because I think that's when things start to kick in and the realities start to happen for people. And it's really about making mental health healthier. And so I like that you said about, it's not just about physical health anymore. It's both. It's physical and mental are just as important.
When we talk about donating, clearly the website makes it very easy to support this financially. There's a form online. People can just look for that and perhaps donate there. There's been a tremendous outpouring of support from folks, and whether it's socks, underwear, deodorant, toothpaste, to food, apples, oranges, anything you can imagine. Community wants to do something, and when you feel powerless or helpless, sometimes that's when you look for something, anything, to show that support. Colleen, tell me about who Tema Contra was and why this is a legacy to her.
Yeah, and the Contra family actually are from Nova Scotia. Dr. Contra and his wife Karen, and Tema was Dr. Contra's sister, and she, at the young age of 25, and this was 30 some odd years ago, she actually 20 some odd, she was murdered by a gentleman in Toronto who had been mistakenly let out of jail, and he was in there for life. So she was brutally murdered, and this all got started because the first responders that responded, to paramedics, were deeply impacted by this, and as a result ended up with PTSD, post-traumatic stress. It wasn't acknowledged back then as much as it is finally now. And so as part of one of their, the healing is that they formed the Tema Foundation, and we've had change in leadership, but we rebranded in 2019, and we continue to go strong and provide whatever we can. And it's our focus really is the mental health and wellness of all of those working the front lines, and developing peer support teams as well, and trainings across the country. So, and then this came up, and we are so thankful for the support from Amera, because this could not have happened without them. And, a touching story just this weekend, I had called upon some Amera volunteers, staff that just stepped up and said, we'll help wherever we can. So I had some gift cards that I wanted to be sent out to some of the fire stations that had been involved in the get-go out in, and so pardon my understanding about the geographic place, but I think Lower Sackville, does that sound right?
Yep.
So we got into a couple of the fire stations there, and one of the women who came, she brought her 2 children with her, which was awesome because she wanted to teach them the importance of giving back. And lo and behold to us, unbeknownst to us, that this woman and her children had been displaced from their own homes and had worried all week whether anything had happened to their homes. They had just moved back in the day before. So fortunate for them, they didn't lose their home. But I thought, look at this. She is stepping up, bringing her kids. And it was an opportunity for them to thank the firefighters as well for really saving their home. So it was just, it's just wonderful what happens to people when, unfortunately things like this happen. We have to continue to be able to give where we can and do what we can, because any little thing makes a huge difference. And I got some feedback from the hotel when I checked out yesterday saying that some of the guests had said like that pizza party on Monday night made such a difference because it brought people together who were displaced, and it got them talking to one another, because nobody knew on Monday what was happening. No one knew what they were coming back to. And what an awesome feeling to have like 30 dogs running around the hotel, that's good therapy. So, we just want to capture whatever we can and do whatever we can. We're a small organization, but we have some big people behind us, and that's what makes a difference. So we thank Amera, and there's lots of donations that are coming in. We need more, obviously, but every little bit will help us.
It's called Helping Our Heroes. That's the name of the campaign. But I know that that's a tough label to accept when you're doing what you feel is your calling. To that end, final words, Colleen, what do you say to those folks who might be struggling with trying to find the strength to say, I might need some help here?
Yeah. Well, and I love that you said that about helping the heroes. We were debating about that tagline, and I kept saying they hate being called heroes. And we decided that it wasn't about them. It's about the public loves to look at them as heroes. So it's about what the general public thinks about our first responders and those working the front lines, is that they are our heroes. I know they don't like that. I had a great conversation with a firefighter yesterday, and he talked about, he said, Colleen, we're a bunch of alpha, he said males. He goes, so we don't tend to, ask for things or seek out things. And I said, but now's the time we got to change that. And he said, absolutely. And we've been talking about that on the front lines. And so my hope is that, we start to make a difference so that people can see that it's okay not to be okay sometimes, and it's okay to ask for help. And there's lots of people around that want to help. So it's just let it, and the more we can help them, the stronger they're going to be for the work that they do for us every day.
I want to thank Colleen Kamps, registered psychotherapist with the Tema Foundation, and really do appreciate your words today, and we'll hopefully push a few more people your direction to get some of that support.
Thanks so much, Sheldon. We appreciate this time.